Man, what's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? I've been trying to figure out how I'm gonna put out some more content. So basically, I have an hour lunch. So I'm gonna try to put out some content during my lunch break. Who knows? I may turn it into a daily or bi-daily or weekly little segment where I just talk about um kind of the latest headlines and stuff in between episodes of the Splashcast that come out on Monday. I mean, I'm sorry, that we shoot on Monday and then come out on Thursday. Remember, like, follow, and subscribe to IFT Media Network. Also, like, follow, and subscribe to Splashcast. The Splashcast episode 193, the right one, is out now on all your digital media platforms, audio and visuals. We will then follow that up with some other shows as well. Uh, so I literally have 46 minutes and I just ate my lunch. My baby sleep. So I got to get this in. So without further ado, man, this is the lunch break, lunch hour, whatever you want to call it. Let's get to it, man. The Knicks have fired Tom Thibodeau, bro. Not only did they fire Tom Thibodeau, they fired Tom Thibodeau 1 day, 2 days, 2 days after losing, 2 or 3 days after losing. I'm not here to say whether that's good or bad. I'm a Hawks fan. We have our own dysfunction, and I'll discuss that a little bit later. But Tom Thibodeau brought the Knicks back from the cellar, right? They have been. You can't really say the Knicks were irrelevant because the Knicks are the Knicks. Madison Square Garden, the Garden is always going to be the mecca of basketball. It's kind of like calling the Lakers irrelevant when they weren't good. No, that's not true. They're always going to be part of basketball, part of the lore of the NBA. But the Knicks were terrible. They've been terrible for a long time. I've seen some what's those 17 to 65 seasons. Seen all of those. So Tom Thibodeau was the type of coach and the type of hire that brings you back out of the depths of darkness. So I liken him to maybe like a Dan Quinn type guy, a culture guy almost. Defense, very rigid, focused on defense, kind of CEOs the offense. He did what he was supposed to do. What's crazy is that you fired him, or what looks crazy is that you fired him after making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, which you haven't been there in 25 years. That is crazy. I thought that Thibs earned at least another year. So I to me, with everything that he's done for the organization, you only make this move if you have somebody else in mind. Thibs, in 4 years, in the last 4 years, they've gone to 4 straight playoff appearances. Before him, they had 1 in 20 years. He's had 24 playoff wins. He's also had 23 losses. It is what it is. But he's had 24 playoff wins in those 4 years. You had 7 before that, and that was all done by Mike Woodson during the Melo years, if I'm not mistaken. So he has done a really good job of establishing winning being an expectation again. I think for a long time for the Knicks, I mean, for 16 years, let's see, 25 years, other than 7, so 18 of 25 years, they were used to being losers. They had a lot of bravado. This is a shot, but New York Knicks basketball fans are like Dallas Cowboy football fans. Like, they're very, very optimistic and passionate about their team, but sometimes, especially during that 18 to 25 years, they were delusional. But now they are good again, and right when you're at the point of getting over the hump, you let go of Thibs, which tells me that Thibs is the hump, or he is the one that can't get you over the hump. He is the roadblock. He's the speed bump, keeping you from competing for a championship. I would say that you are already competing for a championship. You guys were a choke job away from being really, really 2 close games from being up, 3-1, at least tied 2-2, and the dynamic of that entire series probably changes against the Pacers. Shout out to the Pacers for being they are literally the merchant of death. Thibs lost to the Pacers, fired 3 days later. There it was 3 days. Mike Malone lost to the Pacers, fired 2 days later. Mike Brown lost to the Pacers, fired 5 days later. And the thing is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, all of those losses were like really, really bad. They were blowouts. That's the word I'm looking for. All of those losses were blowouts. Let me see if I can find. Oh no, that's Julio Jones. We'll talk about Julio on the podcast next week. The thing about this conversation when it comes to the New York Knicks is you have a lot of things that you got to look at. What do you do? And I think we're going to have that conversation episode of 193 of the Splashcast the right way. I mean, the right one that comes out, that is already out. Make sure you again, check it out, like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube. One of the things that Norwood brought up was like, what are you going to do with Mikal Bridges? But one thing we didn't talk about was y'all got to figure out Cat, bro. Y'all got to figure out what you're going to do with him. Are you going to continue to pair him with Mitchell Robinson? Remember, Cat was kind of criticized because he and Rudy Gobert didn't work. So then you bring him to New York, you play him as the 5, your defense is awful. So then you bring in Mitchell Robinson, who comes back, and you're kind of in the same situation again, right? Where you have to bring in a big man in order to protect the rim because he can't protect the rim. I think he had one block. Actually, shout out to Bomani Jones. That is exactly what he said. He has had one block in 2 years of playoff basketball. Not 2 series, not 2 games, 2 years of playoff basketball. So shout out to Siri. So he is beyond a defensive liability at this point. And you have to kind of evaluate, is his offensive prowess and offensive talent and abilities worth the defensive headache? And when I say defensive headache, I don't just mean not being able to protect the rim, but also the fouls. Cat would probably average 25 and 14, 15, 30, and he could average close to 30 if he just didn't foul. He actually was really, really aggressive this year. He wasn't for a long time, and I'm not going to act like I'm not going to have, recency bias and say that, we've been saying this all the time. We have said that Cat wasn't the greatest at defense, but we also had said through the whole year that Cat grew up, right? Cat grew up. He was playing tough. He had a little swagger about him. He still was changing his accents like Drake, but it is what it is. He was backing down players. He was big man and people. He was flexing. He was dunking. He was doing all of the things on offense. And we were like, yeah, Cat. Yeah, Cat. Let me tell you. Defense, nothing has changed. Cat's defense is so bad. I saw this little meme on Instagram, and I hate that I laugh because you never want to laugh at people getting fired, even though they're making millions of dollars. They said Tom Thibodeau got to hate Cat at this point. Cat has got him fired from 2 jobs in a row. I don't think Thibodeau will actually trade for Cat anytime soon. Tibbs will land on his feet. I think he's going to be a really good defensive coach on staff for somebody. I don't know if he'll be a head coach just because he's so stubborn about not playing his players. I don't know if that philosophy and the way that the second apron is and everything is set up now to where you kind of have to build your team out versus just getting 2 or 3 stars. I don't know if Tibbs is that type of coach. He's been kind of set in his ways. He's a six seven rotation at all times, and at this point, you might as well go ahead and just allow him to focus on defense and make him an assistant coach. Hey, Atlanta, let me tell you something. Our defense has been atrocious. Maybe you put Thibs as the assistant coach. I don't know. But I will say for the Knicks, this move we will be watching very closely. And shout out to Knicks Fan TV. That is my trusted source for New York Knicks basketball and information. They have said that who could be the next head coach. Let me turn this down just to make sure. But who could be the next head coach? The rumors are, of course, Mike Brown, Mike Malone, who they said as well. And then Villanova's former head coach. Now, Mark Jackson, I don't believe Mark Jackson. I don't think Mark Jackson's culture fits today's NBA. But Jay Wright from Villanova, he retired, never came to the NBA. He was all of their coaches. I mean, at that point, why not? But there also are some young guns coming up there too. So you never know. We'll be watching what you guys do in New York, but the next move has to be a really good hire, because if it's not, this looks like the epitome of dysfunction. And we were just praising you all. A lot of people were skeptic on the amount of picks that you gave up for Mikal Bridges. Cool, but it was working out, and we were kind of praising you all for being aggressive and setting yourself up. My, how the tables turn literally within like a few weeks. We were all on the Knicks bandwagon, even when they beat the Celtics. We were all on the Knicks bandwagon, and then they showed up against the Pacers, and what it really was is you choked away game one and you couldn't play defense. And I think why everybody is so disappointed in New York is because I don't think a lot of people believe the Pacers beat the Knicks. I think a lot of people believe the Knicks choked away a couple games. You just couldn't close. Even this last game, game 6, you couldn't close. You didn't hit free throws. You had a crazy amount of turnovers. OKC out-executed Minnesota. Indiana just made the right play. They didn't really do a lot. Their runs came from Knicks missing layups, Knicks turning the ball over, and missed free throws. Not getting back. I think that not getting back after made baskets is really what sealed the deal for Thibs. Because you're a defensive coach. You're supposed to preach that. I will ask y'all, though. If you could trade Cat, where would you trade him and what would you trade him for? Or who would you trade him for? But Cat may have to go. If y'all make a bad decision, this will be my last thought on the Knicks. If y'all make a bad decision, bruh, you will be relegated. Dolan will be relegated as one of the worst owners of all time. The Knicks front office will probably have to get fired and be rebuilt again. And you will be wildly dysfunctional. But you don't have that title yet because you guys made the Eastern Conference Finals. You guys have had success. So we won't say you've made that title yet of most dysfunctional front office. That might go to Phoenix, one, or the Atlanta Hawks. Y'all see it over there. Y'all see it over there, bro? That's the Atlanta Hawks. So now it's rumored that the Atlanta Hawks are inquiring about getting KD to pair KD with Trae Young. That is, or at least they're putting their hat in the sweepstakes. That is, to me, that is absolutely asinine. We still haven't even hired a president of basketball operations. We're still trying to figure out and get our front office sorted out from when we fired Landry Fields. Let me give y'all a quick rundown of what happened. We were terrible. Not terrible this year. We were mid. We lost in the play-in. It is what it is. Jalen Johnson got hurt, but Zachary Ricochet took off. We thought going into the offseason We got everybody off the books that we did. We have enough money and enough assets to go pair somebody with Trey or add to this young core of Okongwu, Ricochet. Trey isn't really young. He's like 27 now, but he's still in his 20s. And he's probably the second best point guard in the league after Halliburton. Maybe third, Jalen Brunson, but Brunson doesn't pass. But that's neither here nor there. So we have a young team. We have Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Ricochet, Trey Young, and Daniel Dyson, who is the most improved player. In my book, he's the defensive player of the year. We have those guys. Plus, we have a couple young players coming off the bench in Muhammad Gay. They're still holding on to Kobe Buffkin for some reason. They think he's pretty good. But our team, for the most part, was pretty young. And then and Landry Fields finally, got to the point where he cleaned up this entire mess. The whole DeJounte Murray mess. He cleaned up that entire DeJounte Murray mess that he made, but he cleaned it up and he got us to the point where we could finally make moves. They fired him after they let him do exit interviews. Dysfunction. They then said, we're going to promote a guy who basically was with the Warriors and came over here. He's basically like Travis Schlink. We're basically promoting Travis Schlink Jr. is what I said, right? But he's not going to be a president of basketball operations. That's going to be a separate position. So then we hired an agency that's going to help us go get the president of basketball operations. Well, you kind of need an agent, or you need a president of basketball operations, and you need a GM. If you're going to separate those two into different positions, they kind of need to be in lockstep. The president of basketball operations, the GM, and the coach. Because you got to be in lockstep of what you want and how you want to build your roster. We still haven't we never signed one. They just stopped using the agency, or the agency just stopped giving us updates. And we don't have a president of basketball operations. So to me, if the Hawks don't have a president of basketball operations, we don't have a legit plan of what we're going to do or how we're going to address the roster until we add that person. So then why would it be leaked that we're going after KD in a trade when we don't really have a lot of assets to give? If we have to trade for KD, what's KD's? Let me look this up real quick because I want y'all to know. What is Kevin Durant's salary? He's making $50 million next year, $49.86 million next year. Mind you, you got to re-sign Trey. And if you trade for Kevin Durant, I think this is either in his last year or second to last year. No, he re-signed. That's my fault. He re-signed. So $50 million. That means you're going to have to trade back. We can't take on all that cap space and re-sign Trey. That means you're going to have to trade one of those pieces or two. If I'm Phoenix, I'm not trading, KD for just picks. You got to give me some young players. The only young players we have is Kobe Buffkin, Muhammad Gay. We have 2 first-round picks, Jalen Johnson and Zachary Ricochet, and Daniel Dyson. You assume Dyson is not on the table. That means you got to pick between Okongwu, Ricochet, and Jalen Johnson. For KD, I'm not comfortable giving up any of those except for maybe Okongwu, just because Okongwu doesn't have the size. And I think Okongwu is too good not to start, but he just doesn't have the size for us. Pause if applicable. So if you'd have to trade Okongwu and possibly Jalen Johnson or and possibly Zachary Ricochet, because you would probably put KD at the 3 and Jalen Johnson at the 4. Or if you keep Ricochet, you put KD at the 4 and Ricochet at the 3. I don't feel comfortable getting rid of any of those. I don't want to get rid of any of our wings. I would part with the picks in Okongwu. It would hurt my heart. But I would part with the picks for Okongwu for KD. That's if you even have an opportunity to get KD. But one thing is for sure, two things for certain. The wrestlers have absolutely destroyed any type of momentum we had from going to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2020. 2021? 2020. I don't know the direction of this Hawks team. I don't know who you're willing to get in. I don't know anything. I keep trying to listen to like all of Locked on the Hawks podcast and and all of these and follow all of these shows just to try to get an insight on what the Hawks are doing. But I feel like right now our team is in limbo. We got to figure out if we want to commit to Trey again, or we need to figure out if we want to go in a different direction. If you go in a different direction, who can you get back? San Antonio is probably the best suitor if you're going to do that. Trade for De'Aaron Fox, all them other dudes, and keep everybody else, right? And now all of a sudden we're a super deep team, but we still need a center. But I don't see us trading for KD. And also, why would KD come to Atlanta? KD has been on the record saying he just wants to hoop and be in a position to win a championship. We, right now, as constructed, and even if we were to make trades, are not a viable championship contender. Now, we are in the East, and KD, I can tell you, it is going to be an easier road to the NBA Finals in the East than it will be in the West, especially if Giannis leaves. Now, I don't know where Giannis will go. They're talking about Toronto, all of those things. But I will say, KD, you could come East, but there's so many better options than Atlanta. But Atlanta with Trae Young would get KD the ball for sure. Two Oklahoma guys. Oklahoma Thunder, Oklahoma. But I don't see how that move makes us better. I think we'll have to give up way too much for KD. And as much as I would like to have him on our team, because he does give us the option of somebody that can consistently go and get a bucket, he and Trey consistently going to get a bucket would be kind of crazy. And then Trey could facilitate to him. Trey would average 30 and 20 if he had KD. Because Trey led the league in assists. I guess this is the case for it. Trey led the league in assists with his second best player hurt, with not really great shooters on the court, with a lot of players, with trading everybody away. We got rid of everybody. DeAndre Hunter, Bogey, we got rid of all of those staples, and he still led the league in assists. All-star, and was an all-star replacement snub and an all-NBA snub. So him passing to KD, I would assume gets you 4 more assists a game, 1 per quarter, just from running a play from KD, doing a curl, and then hitting the mid-range J. That gets you at least 4 more assists a game. The thing is, on defense with KD and Trey, boy, you're going to have some killers everywhere else. We got Dyson, and I don't know who else you would have, because you would have to put either Jalen or Ricochet or Okongwu in the trade. And Jalen is probably our best defender. Ricochet is actually really good because he uses his length really well. And then Okongwu is our best rim protector. So you're going to sacrifice defense for offense, which the Atlanta Hawks have no defense. So if we have very little defense, you can't sacrifice the smallest amount. We ain't going to turn into the Pacers. You'd have to bring a whole lot of players to turn into the Pacers. But you could be trying to build. You could sell KD. Again, I got 30 minutes, so I'm spitballing. This is really off the dome. You could sell KD on building something like the OKC Thunder or the Pacers, right? Siakam, Halliburton, Trey, KD. There you go. And then just have a bunch of other people around them. That could work. But the bunch of other people around him can't make a lot of money. And I do think Jalen Johnson is on a reasonable contract, so you could keep him. I think Zachary Ricochet would be a good guy. And then you could just add in fill-in players. But you would have to make sure that KD and Trey kind of help us with the salary cap, kind of massage the salary cap a little bit. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. It looks like this Hawks team is going to look a little bit different next year, maybe a lot of it. But that's really all I got, man. I told you I got 30 minutes. I said 45. I got to edit to put this out. I can't believe the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau. I don't know who else they're going to go get. We talked about that with Jay Billis. I'm sorry, Jay Wright. Jay Billis does the commentary. Jay Wright, Matt Malone, Mike Brown, all of these people. Thibs will land on his feet. Knicks fans, let me know how y'all feel. I've tuned into Knicks Fan TV. I listen to them a lot. Let me know how y'all feel about Thibodeau and who do you think would be the next person to get hired. Oh, before I sign off, Atlanta Falcons, y'all, if y'all go to follow the Splashcast, y'all know that I have been kind of doing this. I've been doing this like Kyle Pitts series this week. I've been going through different storylines. They are talking about trading Kyle Pitts. I talked about it. Go listen, YouTube. Don't y'all trade Kyle Pitts to the Philadelphia Eagles. That would be absolutely insane. Kyle Pitts to the Philadelphia Eagles allows the Eagles to be the most efficient offense in football because they don't have to change personnel to create mismatches. They can literally go 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, single back with Saquon Barkley and be just fine. And they can motion out of that offense and they'd be able to put Pitts at the Y or the Z. They can move Devontae and Brown. That's giving them another championship. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Peace, love. Make sure y'all like, follow, subscribe. My baby's awake. Tune in. I don't know when I'll do this again, but it'll definitely be during the lunch break. Maybe Friday, maybe tomorrow. Depends on what comes out. Remember, like, follow, and subscribe. Episode 193 of the Splashcast out now. Peace. We out of here.